Yeah, I started the 10x journey with you just
Yeah.
2 years ago, and uh, it's an interesting state to be in. That's all I can say. I'm obviously at the very beginning of the journey compared to your client, and but when you talked about just diving deeper, and when I heard about how many sessions and what it has taken him through, right? What the perceived setback and how he has made it through that and is going ahead. Yeah, I'm getting it right now, even though I'm still relatively new to what you're outlining for all of us. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
I would just say, it's it is the unfolding within you of what you already have.
yeah, yeah.
And so that's really the journey.
Brilliant. That's true. And I've been keeping track of your posts of late, Gene. So
Really?
yeah. You might have noticed a little light bulb coming up on LinkedIn under everything you're sharing. And I do remember you mentioning that the posts are a key part of your writing process for your book.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So if that's okay,
Yeah.
could we touch base on how that's going for you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
So give me one of your beautiful questions.
Oh, I think, where are you at? I love Nishit's question. I start with that myself these days. Where are you at with the book?
Okay, that's good. So I kind of had a mini revelation about the book after our last call,
Hmm.
um, and I realized that what I'm going to do as to bring closure, or at least is where I am right now, but to bring closure to my 10x outcome is to take the 100 posts that I generate. Today will be 76,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I've got a few more. I've got another 3 weeks, right, of in this iteration. But I'm going to take the 100 posts and I'm going to I'll create an ebook
Hmm. Hmm.
out of that.
Yeah.
So it's going to go beyond a draft. Um,
Hmm.
Originally, I thought, I wanted to probably, it's probably three iterations. One was posts, one was adding stories, and then the third was kind of like an overview, general editing and synthesizing kind of thing.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm gonna save that because I think that's a much longer process. Um, so yeah, that's where I am at the moment.
Okay.
One thing I would say about it is that in our conversations, um, it has always happened, which I love.
Hmm.
Uh, that I'm wherever I am, and then we go somewhere different, which is beautiful. We go somewhere else,
That's
and
true.
that's kind of like where I am today. Is like uh, this feels this idea of turning the 100 into an ebook
Hmm.
feels like it brings some completion,
Yeah.
um, whereas having a draft feels like it's not fully completed.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
and so but that's like a plateau on the 10x journey. And
Hmm.
so I'm ready to go to the next mountain.
Nice. Nice. So, what does that look like? So you mentioned the next mountain. You're finished. So it sounds like the closure is connected to the posts. Am I right?
Well, in the ebook, as
Mm,
opposed to the ebook.
the
So
post.
it takes time to actually turn, that writing into an ebook.
Mm,
And I'll take the days following the 100 posts, but still in the program, I'll take those days to actually, turn it into the ebook. So yeah, what happens next is really,
yeah,
um,
yeah. When you have the book in front of you,
yeah,
and Yeah. In our previous chats, you were talking, you were dwelling a lot on how the reader would
Yeah.
gain from what you produced. Is that still something you think about, or is there something bigger that is in its place, in the place of that question?
I think there's something bigger,
Mm-hmm.
actually. That is always there,
Mm-hmm.
and I think there's something bigger. And I reckon, I'm reflecting on the impact that has on me,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I recognize that there is a richness, to my experience of committing to that continuity.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, a question I have, this is good. A question
Mm-hmm.
I have,
Mm-hmm.
it's very interesting with you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, this is exactly the process we've been through before. And it's like, it always something opens up. It's great.
That's
And
great.
it's really good.
Awesome.
Um, um, yeah, a question I have is, you know, what would it take for if you will, my reader who could be, they could also be a participant in the program or, recipient type thing.
Mm-hmm.
What would it take for my reader to discover the value of what I would call 10x embodiment?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's a very personal thing, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. What's interesting about this question, and there's been a bit of a time separation since the last time we met and now. In this question, a lot of the fragments of things you've mentioned in previous sessions. It's
Yeah.
like the embodiment, right, of 10x. That is something you dwelt on in our last meeting. It is I think this question has never really left the building. It was always there with you in some format or the other. And I feel like today you've narrowed it down to this, right?
I agree with that. I think
Yeah,
that's a very accurate assessment.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
it is something that I thought about for the program,
Mm,
uh, and I haven't really gotten an answer, which is probably why the question's coming as it is.
yeah.
Because it is a question that is orienting my experience of 10x, broadly speaking, as well as specifically.
Yeah.
So I would say part of that
Hmm.
is the role modeling. So, for example, I think anyone who is even partially interested, in 10x for themselves
Hmm.
and has access and interest in, for example, the post I'm putting up.
Mm,
Um, that's that is a form of role modeling, to say, okay, here are concepts. Here are a wide array of concepts, because it's mostly conceptual at this point.
yeah.
There's no instruction directly.
Hmm.
Here are a wide array of concepts that, if and when you apply them,
Hmm.
um, you will deepen your 10x
Yeah.
embodiment.
I get it.
And um, I would say all of the concepts, in this iteration of post,
Hmm.
come out of my experience. They're not they are not um, they are not simply ideas. They are not ideas that are disembodied for me personally.
Mm,
They are embodied for me personally.
I get it. I get it.
And so I recognize that is an important aspect, uh, which relates to energetic presence. I don't know how much we talked about that, but one way I think about that is that energetic presence does not, or no, I would say not does not, but um, is not limited by time and space. Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it is one reason that people I have worked with on Zoom have expressed surprise at how impactful it can be.
Yeah.
Because I think it's energetic presence. I don't think it's the technology.
Yeah.
And so they go, okay, you know, it's like you're not getting the in-person experience, but you're getting something. What is that something?
Yeah.
I think it is energetic presence.
And that
So
is
what's that?
no embodied. The embodied the 10x as an embodied concept. The energized presence. Those two very interlinked? Is there when you say energized presence, is that in an embodied format or?
So what I would say is that energized presence is a comprehensive state, a comprehensive expression of self, of essential self.
Okay.
We all have that.
Yeah.
You know, for some it's stronger than others. And you know, for some it is more congruent, and for some it's more chaotic. And I would say the more congruent, the more powerful.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So,
and I would say 10x embodiment is about increasing our congruence as people, as an individual, and the result is a stronger impact from our energetic presence.
Yeah. Wow. When you mentioned that, it just stood out for me that this is happening among participants in the group.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
I mean, I think it's the human condition, right?
Yeah.
And part of participants joining the program is an acknowledgement of, at some level, that they are on the journey, and they're all in different places.
Yeah.
And congruence is one metric for where they are on the journey.
Yeah. 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 Really?
So, yeah. So one thing that takes me to is, I would say, you know, the same is true for me, where I am on the 10X journey. And, you know, using the ebook to accelerate, my progress on the journey is happening, and can happen even more.
Yeah.
And so I would say that is probably where we should focus. How can I take my process with the ebook to the next level of my 10x embodiment? And I give you just an example. So I've been having conversations with a couple of friends, actually, and I recognize that I've taken my own self-modeling, which has manifested in these posts,
Mm-hmm.
and applied to self with unconsciously,
Mm-hmm.
and realized that by doing that,
Mm-hmm.
I've made a pretty significant shift in removing what I was calling noise from the system. Um, and that's it, and it is a function of self-modeling. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So one of the things that happens is, well, one thing happened that has happened
Mm-hmm.
is that, well, let me put it this way: the noise was conflicting internal dialogue,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and by applying to self, that just disappeared. I didn't do something to make it disappear.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so with that's a process. That's an unconscious process. That's become an unconscious process. Right?
Yeah.
So I mean, one way of saying it is identification with myself, um, as dissociated and then reintegrated,
Mm-hmm.
which is quite an interesting. That's a very interesting process. I mean,
Yeah.
and that's a function of having of of having applied this many times to myself anyway, more consciously.
Yeah.
Um, then it becomes unconscious, which which is which is the process of embodiment. Yeah, unconscious competence.
Unconscious competence. It's brilliant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow. You've reached the end of that arc. That's
yeah.
yeah.
Well, and the next move is to unconscious excellence.
Nice. Oh, there's one more level. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's kind of like that's yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
That's yeah. Unconscious excellence is actually I would say is consistent 10x application.
Yeah. 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 You're so
So
yeah.
say again.
You're very you're so generous with sharing your journey and everything you've undergone with others. It's just unbelievable. It's happened in real time. And
So you say some more about that?
well, I can give you an example. Uh,
Yes.
a few days ago, I was coaching someone else from the 10X program, and it was on a day where she seemed to be experiencing that incongruence that you mentioned.
Uh-huh.
And all I did was I diverted her attention to one of your posts, and she was okay. She was good.
Oh, wow. Wow.
It was about seeking opportunities around you, about the getting that filter of finding opportunities around you.
Right.
And
Right.
it was, yeah, it was just amazing how quickly that shift happened. So yeah,
That's so good to hear.
yeah,
That's so good to hear.
yeah.
Yeah. So let's take that.
Hmm.
Um, so let me ask you a question. In your experience, and this is you self-modeling, right? So you modeling me, modeling myself to model yourself, right?
Sure.
All that self-modeling.
Hmm.
Um, what would it take at and the word I'm using is global level, but in the program, that would mean 4 program participants.
Mm.
So that's what global means, right?
Yeah.
What would it take for individuals to do what you're doing, which is 10x coaching of one another,
Mm. What would
to
it?
to accelerate their integration of 10x for themselves?
Mm. Okay. So, is this about getting everyone to coach each other? Is that I'm just trying to unpack.
Well, I'm not thinking that that's too general. I'm thinking of it's yes,
Mm-hmm.
but it's yes in the sense of getting of you being the exemplar of individuals doing coaching with one another.
Mm. So, if I were to look at all my interactions with everyone in the program, right? What's interesting is everyone seems to be coming at the program from very subjective points, right? So
Yeah.
when I speak to, for example, her relationship with 10x is a bit different from my own. Um, in my case, uh, I'm someone who has recovered from complex post-traumatic stress disorder in the past.
Uh-huh.
I've received coaching for it from someone who's really good at coaching, and I've come to terms with understanding that I have to relearn certain patterns within myself, right down to a neurological level, in order to get the life I want for myself. And getting the life I want for myself is my 10x.
Right.
So that
By
person's,
the way,
yeah,
that is exactly the purpose of the program.
yes, yeah,
So I mean, we're totally in sync.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just I sometimes when I engage with the program, I do sometimes come back to the state of being a baby, literally, because there'll be this totally new revelation about how I have to realign myself with a thought or an idea or a feeling, but it's game changing. And
Uh-huh.
and it's sometimes I feel a bit sad that I didn't have that shift earlier in life, but then I let that go and I'm happy that it at least happened now. So, but it's one of those shifts that is embodied. When you mention the word embodied, I understand that so much. It's
Right.
something that's beyond words, actually.
Right. Right.
And
That's right.
yeah, that is my reason for being in the program. I don't dare assume what others are in it for. But when they sometimes share things with me in the coaching sessions, versions of what I have experienced appear in what they share.
Right.
For instance, sometimes when I'm on my 10x journey towards becoming the coach I want to be, I encounter head on my old insecurities, old neurological patterns. They just emerge, and at least now I'm aware of them, and I have to decode them and find a way to put them to bed forever, right? So I think it's interesting, but I feel 2, 3 other participants I spoke to over the past 2 weeks are there as well. And it's emerged, it's interesting, but I know it's necessary. I know it's necessary to confront those little mischievous demons that come up. But at least now there's a
Right.
higher purpose to doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Everyone's equally driven. That is something that has really struck me. Everyone's driven. There's an energy in them to get through.
Right. Yeah.
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 So, yeah.
That's very good.
Your posts made a big difference last week.
Mm.
Yeah, they gave us, helped us adopt a frame that made looking at things a little bit easier.
Right. Right.
Like a much needed reminder. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's true for me as well.
Mm.
Which is, I mean, that's a surprise for me.
Mm.
Um, it, it is true for me.
Mm.
That my posts have helped me.
Of course, you're the source of the posts. So, yeah, yeah, that, yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you, let me ask us to
Mm,
ask me this question.
mm,
Given that, my post helped me
mhm,
um, with a frame that made things easier, right?
mhm,
What what can I do? Maybe that's, I don't know if that's the right word, but what can I do
mhm,
in the coming weeks that will take that frame to the next level? So,
mm,
for example, I have a pretty good pattern down for writing these posts,
mm,
and and a couple of things about that. One is, again, I'm surprised at what comes out. I sit down to write
mm,
and know nothing of of the post other than maybe a theme,
mhm,
and then reflect, come up with a structure, come up with a structure that matches the or come up with content that matches the structure,
mm,
and write.
yeah.
And I love reading my own writing.
Mhm, mhm,
And it's kind of like what some writers say is like they feel like things are written through them, but not by them.
yeah,
You know?
yeah,
And that's kind of how it feels.
yeah.
It feels like uh, they are written through me,
Like
not by me,
the
which
content
makes
speaking
it
through.
possible for that makes it possible um, for that writing to have this kind of impact.
Yeah.
Because I'm not saying it's me; it's like it's outside of me.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so then the question becomes, okay, given, okay, so 10xing this process, how do I 10x? How do I 10x this ebook? Or maybe the focus is not on the ebook, but on something else, which the ebook takes me to.
Mm,
Okay, so then that would go to the purpose of 10xing in community, which is what we're doing,
mhm,
is to elevate each one of us to 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 10x embodiment, which is access to and living from our essential self. So in other words, the more 10xing I do, the more access I have to who I truly am.
mm, yeah. Are you that person right now, as we speak? Are you? Are you the true Gene right now? Do you have access to him right now?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think because this. So I would say, okay. So how to answer that? Yes, and um, the yes is uh, my essential self is is constantly seeking what I might call a flow state challenge,
Mm,
right?
mhm,
So writing 100 posts was a 1x, was a 10x challenge that's become 1x.
Yeah.
Okay, now I've done enough to know I know how to do this.
Yeah.
Um, it 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 still is sustaining to do it,
Hmm.
but it's no longer 10x. Right.
Yeah.
So the ebook itself is no longer 10x. It's become, when 10x becomes 1x,
Yeah.
it is time to look for the next 10x, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So that's the yes part of the yes and.
Hmm.
Um, the and the and is what emerges out of the process of 10x. So that process includes being 1x, becoming 10x, which then becomes 1x
Yeah.
in order to become 10x. And that process is is an expression of my essential self.
You are the journey.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So then where that takes me to is saying that I feel like that, okay, what is the next 10x?
Hmm.
Right. And so if I take it in the frame of evolving my essential self, the expressions of
Mm-hmm.
my essential self. One aspect of that is um, is to equip. Okay, now I've already done this. To
Hmm.
equip others to pursue 10x.
Hmm.
And as I say that, I recognize that's what I'm doing with my clients.
Mm-hmm.
So I've already done that.
Yeah.
So that is back to 1x.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So your 1x is to equip that the 1x is now to equip others to pursue 10x. You've achieved that with clients. What is beyond that? Am I right?
Right. That's right.
Hmm.
Well, that's a great question. Gosh. Okay. So one answer is that the group or community, in this case, the 10x program,
Mm-hmm.
collectively achieves a 10x
Yes.
outcome.
Yeah.
So it would say that the program now
Mm-hmm.
is 1x.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is 10x that has become 1x.
Right.
So not to underplay how far we've come,
Mm-hmm.
uh, but also to kind of be realistic about it.
Are we looking at a reboot, perhaps?
In order,
You-
in what's that?
Are we looking at a mid-program re reignition, perhaps? Like, what do you
Yeah,
think?
something like that.
Yeah.
In order to envision 10x, we have to own 1x,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so 1x is 1x is individual journeying towards specific personal 10x outcomes.
Mm.
That is what we've set up,
Yeah.
and that's happening.
Yes.
So the program is in 10x processing at the moment.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
But to 10x the program requires a shared collective goal outcome, not just a series of individual 10x outcomes.
Okay.
So for this program, our collective outcome at the beginning was each person identify a 10x outcome and pursue it as far and fast as you can.
Yeah.
Or as far and fast as you choose to. Because different people move at different speeds, different people have different motivations, all that.
Yeah.
And to honor that. Right.
Okay.
So I have a question for you. If you were to think about a collective outcome for us as a program,
yeah,
what comes to mind?
Yeah. So this is based on people sharing with me in the privacy of our little chat rooms. Everyone is being strong. They're very, they're pushing themselves beyond their comfort zone.
Yeah.
What seems to then emerge at this stage, it's been now about 3 months since we've all started. And even I've experienced it to some extent, I'll be honest. Life gets in the way sometimes, right?
Oh,
yeah. And I've noticed that a little bit of the self-doubt sometimes emerges, and they're sort of trying to repress it using whatever methods they know already. I think everyone's having varying degrees of success with that. To me, more than achieving a 10x outcome in the technical sense, what would be valuable for everyone would be to embody 10x as a state and to understand how to hold it no matter what. I think maybe perhaps so I think that is something, a gap that maybe that could be addressed. So
I agree with you, but I think that's individual.
Okay.
So I'm asking a different question. I totally agree that that's where we need to go. But I think one way to get there is to level shift to the group level.
Okay. Level shift to the group level. Everyone's quite unique, though, in their own respective ways. How does one bring about a sort of a common shared frequency with everyone?
Well, for example, I just give you an example, is like when I co-founded Genomic Health, right? Our vision and mission was to create a diagnostic test that predicted the risk of recurrence of breast cancer. Okay, that was everybody had their own part in doing that. So we had the CEO doing his thing, and then we had the medical director doing his thing, and then we had the technician in the lab doing their thing, and then we had the marketing guy doing his thing. All of which was for the purpose of creating the test that predicted the risk of recurrence of breast cancer.
Okay.
Right. So, it is not a given that this group of people in the program have that common vision.
Yeah.
I mean, the common vision is let's each individually learn how to be 10x.
Yeah.
But that's individually.
Yeah. So in the example you just cited, there was a higher goal that transcended. Everyone is working towards curing a condition, right?
Well, it's where the contribution of each person is necessary
Yeah.
in order to reach the higher goal.
Okay. Right. So, yeah, if all of us came together collectively over a higher mission that transcended our respective, uh, little journeys, that could work. But what does something like that emerge for you in the context of our group, like from where you are?
It's emerging in me, therefore it's emerging in the group.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I would say yes.
Okay. What is emerging?
Well, this is also thematic for me, that I know that next level 10x, for me, is to find the equivalent at a group level for what I've accomplished and others are accomplishing at the individual level
Okay.
that you've accomplished already. And go and saying, okay, there is something. Well, so for example, Nishith has this vision, if you will, of oneness. So if we could chunk that down, maybe one level, and go, what is a clear manifestation in the world of oneness that can only be accomplished through the combined efforts of a group?
Okay. So there'll be we'll become part of a supportive ecosystem for each other.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And the thing about that is that it would have to meet individual needs as well as the collective need.
All right.
So, and this is where I was saying, again, this is actually, we're doing 10x brainstorming. That this collective vision or collective 10x outcome presupposes that individual 10x outcomes are being met along the way.
Yeah.
Because in order for each person to contribute to the magnitude of the collective 10x outcome, they have to 10x themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not sufficient for them to bring who they are today to achieve this outcome. They have to 10x themselves in order to contribute what they have to bring.
Yeah. Everyone's win is a win for the others.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
For example, I understood when I started this program for myself that writing a 10x book was a 10x outcome. I didn't know what it looked like, but now I do. For now, and now I just have to. I have to finish doing. I just have to operationalize it. So that's the same kind of thing, right? That I asked the question, what is the next 10x? And it may take longer than I think, um, because I can hold this vision for a collective 10x outcome,
Yeah.
and all the pieces may not be in place yet, and that would be in me, but also in the group. Part of the process is naming the outcome. So, when you go, okay, the life you want to live,
Mm.
and then chunk down and you go, the coach you want to be,
Mhm.
and chunk down, and the expressions of that coach, and chunk down and get a business card,
Mm.
right? Or 100 other things, right? But that's just part of the process. So the first step is to name it,
Mm.
and commit to it.
Mm.
You can name it, but name it as dissociated and nothing happens.
Mm.
Name it and commit to it, and it begins to happen.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
So this today's call has been for me the next iteration of 10x embodiment, which I named on this call for the first time.
Mhm.
I never used that language, um, and then began to organize in a more coherent fashion
Mhm.
uh, thoughts and actions and memories, reference experiences that I have, which support the vision, if you will, of a collective 10x outcome.
Mm.
And it is clear I do not know how to fully bring that about.
Mm.
And I trust that, given the process I've recognized to date, it will happen. And the fact that it will happen means it already has happened.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
And when I can say it will happen in that way, it means that it already has happened.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So then the question is, what is the it? And then that's emergent,
Mm.
and will emerge in its time. That's so interesting. In its time, right?
Yeah.
Right. As if, and maybe it's true. It has its own life. So it's actually, it's like a birth. It's birthing.
Mm.
It's birthing this vision,
Yeah.
and it will come in its own time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then makes me think about your kids, and say, it will have a life of its own that takes its own,
Yeah.
it takes its own path,
Yeah. Yeah.
which I would then say, if I think about the program, we birthed the program, but the program's taking a life of its own,
Absolutely.
and it's like what it is becoming is uh, is what it is. I mean,
Yeah.
anyway.
You've already
Wow.
manifested a lot of this in a strange way. Um, Everyone seems to be in a very unsettled place, but it's a good thing. I'm unsettled. Couple of the folks I've spoken to, it's I get this peek into that for the few people that I've spoken to, and what we all have in common is an unsettled sense of we're not there yet.
Right.
It's quite fascinating. Yeah, and there's an autopilot aspect to it, which is also interesting. So,
And what is that? What is the autopilot aspect?
well,
What is?
it's on their mind. It's consuming them. It's affecting them in things they decide to do, things they're worrying about. It's really interesting. I speak for myself as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, and so part of the individual growth is becoming comfortable with the discomfort.
yeah, yeah,
Oh, okay. This is 10x. Oh, this is 10x. Oh, oh,
yeah,
right. So
yeah,
my discomfort is a good sign
yeah, yeah. That's
because it means that I will move from where I am to something much greater.
hmm,
I mean, and that inevitability is a key piece of this.
hmm. Okay. I'm excited. I'm excited from my end of the from my corner. I'm very excited. Scared
Yeah, me
excited,
too.
which is interesting.
Yeah, what's the fear? What is the fear?
No, I said it's a scared excited. I'm just trying to put words to it.
All right, all right.
It's not like, you're relaxed, laid back excited.
Not a relaxed
Yeah,
excitement.
it's not relaxed at all. So, but it's necessary. My body tells me it's necessary. It's needed.
All right, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. So interesting.
Well, one of the things that I've recently come across for myself is that this state, which I've become increasingly comfortable with. I mean, I've been through that scared excitement. I'm
Hmm.
not there now. I'm much closer to being comfortable with discomfort.
Hmm.
Um, um, is uh, I've realized that um, it is an expression of being alive. I mean, really being alive.
Yeah.
uh, which is a strange thing because at one level we are alive,
Mm.
but there's another level at which we know the difference. And I think this is, to me, knowing the difference level.
Yeah. Perhaps could I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
This conversation that we're having, uh, what would happen if this was shared with the group, this recording?
Oh, we could do that. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be great.
Because there's a lot coming up that I think relates to everyone, right? So
Yeah.
in some way. So
Yeah.
would that
Would
be?
you like to do that? I think it'd be great if you did that. Just acknowledge that we agreed to it. But okay.
Is there anything more we have to unpack on this call? I know we've spoken a lot, and
I
I
would just
love
say, yeah, I would just say, what are your reflections on the call? I mean, in some ways, we just had a big one. But
I enjoyed every minute. I gained a lot from it as one of your disciples, and so it wasn't it wasn't completely a coaching call. I felt this time it was very two-way. I gained a lot as well, so that was huge. Um, and I guess on your part, it sounded like you achieved some kind of your next a sort of a sense of your own next level, right?
Yeah.
Which is huge. And I'm very excited about that too. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I'm very appreciative, by the way. I really appreciate the space you create. I've said this before. You create a super space to operate in and to do this kind of work in, and it's really beautiful.
thank you, thank you so much. I'm glad it was of help to you. Thank you.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
Cool.
Taking it to my next level is great.
Okay, I'm excited about our next session. So I look forward to it. And yeah, let's see what comes up.
Okay. Yeah, me too. Thank you so much, Priya.
Thank you. Enjoyed it. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.